Invictus is here, and with it a celebration of all things spaceship and space vehicle. And with today being both RSI and Tumbril Day, we've got introductions to 2 new ground vehicles for you this week, starting with an old friend ready to make our Constellation Phoenix complete, the RSI Lynx.
Ground vehicles in Star Citizen play quite a large role. Obviously, we have these fully realized full planets and moons. You don't always want to spend all your time flying over them in your ships. We're going to have things coming online in the future, such as weather, that's going to make that prohibitively more dangerous to do.
Flying is the main traversal type, but of course with ground vehicles, there is so much more to explore on planets. It adds so much diversity to the missions that we have.
I feel like ground vehicles are an opportunity for players to have fun and explore the terrain of our lovely planet, not from, going in from a top side, but really getting in and around with the dunes and the broken ships and stuff.
The fun, the dynamic, you get some feedback from the road. If you enjoy driving, it's something for you, isn't it? It's not always a spaceship.
You need to have the options. I mean, if you don't have a ship, how are you going to get from A to B? You need something to get you there. And if you're going from A to B, then someone's in the way, you get a tank.
At Invictus Launch Week, we're introducing 2 new vehicles to the game, the drivable RSI Lynx and a concept vehicle, which we'll talk about later. The Lynx was introduced alongside the RSI Constellation Phoenix back in 2014. It was mentioned as it's sort of an add-on to the Phoenix.
The Lynx is RSI's more luxury counterpart to the Ursa rover.
It expands the capabilities. I suppose there's an element of, showing off maybe.
It's for the distinguished individual who likes to travel in style.
It serves a different purpose to the Ursa. It's very much for VIP transport and exploration.
We've taken some stuff from the Scorpius. We've taken some stuff from the Ursa itself. We've invented other stuff from scratch because not everything that we needed already existed. It is fun and fancy.
I think the exterior is amazing. It's got so many great angles and it just looks so RSI. It just comes together really nicely. We took the Ursa and we basically made it beautiful.
It trades out some of that rugged utilitarian functionality for just a more enjoyable experience to ride around exploring in the back of.
So it's a lot of clean, glossy panels, higher quality materials, and less dense detail, more focusing on angular lines.
We're very constrained with this overall size dimensions. It has to fit in the Phoenix, so we couldn't make the vehicle any longer, wider, taller, so we had to work to the same footprint.
We've tried to not have too much visible mechanics on the outside of it, because you don't want to go up to a fancy luxury car and just see the engine just there. You know it's a car, you know it's got an engine, you don't need to know where the engine is. You just want it to look good whilst you're actually getting from A to B.
It's very nice design. Alberto, our concept artist, did a very good job on that. We had quite a lot of references to new electric trucks, that type of thing. Got a clean day-running lights. As you go round to the side, you've got like a peek-in window of the cockpit. So underneath you can sort of see feet. I don't know why you'd want to see feet, but yeah, you can. And then we've got the suspension uprights, which are finished in like a goldy colour, which is quite nice. It's quite ornate for something that sort of takes the load of the vehicle and that kind of thing. A very nice 13-piece door. 13-piece on my side. You're not going to see 13 pieces.
I think my favourite thing on the Lynx is the wheels. They are quite unlike anything else we've got in the game.
We've tried to go for wheels that would seem a little bit more luxurious, so we've gone for a shape that will kind of make them a little bit quieter.
They look pretty cool. They're very evocative of those sort of sand racing tyres with the big ribs on them. They give it a very strong visual identity from the outside.
My favourite thing about the Lynx is the huge rear windows.
It's got this lovely wraparound window. It just creates a very different atmosphere inside the vehicle.
Whether you're having in-game business meetings or just chilling with your friends, having that scenery so on display right next to you really adds to the whole experience when you're just sat in the back with your champagne.
When you step in, we've got some TVs that pop out of the sides of the panels, some personal storage and seats, which move. And you can push a button and they will spin around. You've also got a location for storage, which obviously folds away so that if you've got something you just want to put up there, you don't have to see it, but you know it's there. We've also got a weapons rack. It folds itself away and it pops out. It's got some nice little smoky glass doors on the front of it.
The lighting is designed to be a more habitable area for your luxury passengers.
We have a magnificent full-length fridge, and off to the left we've got a couple of shelves where you can store stuff. We don't say it's a drug storage location, but secretly it is a drug storage location. Just don't tell the cops.
Compared to the base Ursa, the Lynx is a little more agile, a little faster. It is like this because it just has less weight to it, less carrying capability, so it can trade that off for speed. And the two people that are sat in the back in relative luxury have a much nicer experience seeing the sights of the universe around them. Compared to the other ground vehicles in events such as the Daymar Rally, I think this is going to be a strong competitor. It's going to be really interesting to see which players prioritize over the other, whether you take the speed of the Lynx versus the increased durability of the Ursa itself. But you don't often see Bentleys racing against other vehicles in real-life rallies, so maybe not as durable as the others.
This is for people that like to get from A to B and look like they're in a good car when they're doing it.
I think the fantasy of having someone chauffeur you around while you're sitting in the back drinking cocktails or the champagne and looking at your business portfolio while just the world of Star Citizen goes on around you. It's pretty cool.
It's also for people who'd never be caught dead racing in a mule.
So that's the new way to get around the surface of Stanton's planets and moons in style. But what about those who want a bit more pew-pew with their hot looks? Just go with it. Well, Tumbril has you covered with the latest in planet-side mobility and destroyability with the Tumbril Storm. Let's find out more.
Hello again, it is once again myself, John Crew. Let's talk about the concept vehicle that we're introducing at Invictus Launch Week, the Tumbril Storm. The Tumbril Storm is a light/scout tank from Tumbril. In a lot of combined armed forces, you rely on reconnaissance on the ground to let you know what's coming ahead. And whilst we do have an array of ground vehicles that can do this role, not very many of them are as heavily armoured as a tank. And sometimes reconnaissance goes a bit sideways and you need some firepower to help get you out of that situation. So the Storm is really excels in this scenario. It can be ahead of the fleet on the ground, engage targets and hold its ground before the main force of ground vehicles arrives for backup. One aspect that we wanted to change from the traditional tank and Nova setup is making this energy weapon based. So it had a much greater independence from the main task force on the ground, and that it wasn't constrained by ballistic ammunition. So it has an energy autocannon on top, twin-barreled, to help lay down firepower, really only constrained by the size of its capacitors and power plant. The Storm is really designed for supporting Novas in attacks. It can take on most other ground vehicles. If you're brave, you can take on a Nova with it, but you probably want to bring a friend or two to help even the fight.
I received the task to complete a new vehicle. I was told to do a tank, most precisely something that would have become a killer of killers. We had to go back to the origins of Tumbril and let this new tank look less like the Nova tank and more like the Cyclone. So it was important to get back that aggressiveness and that dynamics that the Cyclone had. So we opted for something a little less classical and went on a design that is absolutely more related to the manga and anime's word. When people see the storm for the first time, I want them to feel scared. There is no flimsy paneling, there is no beautiful refined surface. This is just optimal and very, very dynamic. So we don't have a lot of parallel lines, we have a lot of X's and V's, very strong shapes that deline what is popularly recognized as dynamic and aggressive. The interiors of the storm will feel really full of pipes, of fabric, of mechanical stuff. It have to look basically ventral, like you have just been eaten by a machine. So what we have is very composed design, something that is uncommon in the tank we know today. So what we wanted to achieve when you look at the storm is fast. Strike fast, move fast, do everything fast, no need to rely on a crew. I like that it looks a bit like an animal. It's very snaky, or looks a bit like a crocodile.
Now, of course, the big question everyone always asks for every new concept promotion is when? When will it go into production? Well, let's go now to the vehicle team in our Los Angeles studio and find out more.
The problem is where my story goes is always I will identify all of the issues that I have to overcome first, and then like build a plan for breaking them down. So I'm trying to think of a way of phrasing it, you know? We had a lot of cleaning up to do to make sure it was worthy of the engine, it's ready for engine, it's not going to break anything when it goes in there. And that was what most of the initial white box work we did, at least from an art side. For design, we were more concerned about alleviating a lot of the issues we knew were present with the Nova, just like traversing on uneven terrain, exiting the hangar. These are issues we solved first, rather than waited until later in production and realized there were more difficult tasks to overcome.
So most recently, we finished Gray Box. We completed all the animations. Currently, I am doing a material and detail pass on the tread housings for the Tumbril Storm. This thing has challenged me in ways I haven't been challenged before in working in the game industry. For example, the treads took a couple different iterations, so we got right, and be able to get like the right movement as it deforms to the ground planes. This ship is definitely more organic than anything I'm used to, and I suppose it's like its own challenges, but it's been a learning process.
The art is to continue on to LOD 0, finalizing all of the art assets, making sure everything is going to be correct for when we move on to all of our higher detail tertiary details that will go into a bit later.
Everything from the way the doors open on the tank to the cockpit itself. When you go inside this thing, it's like stepping into a mech. It's completely different from any other vehicle I've seen in this game.
My favorite thing about the Storm is going to be the role of it. The Nova is a very, very big tank. It requires 3 people. It's got that big size 5 cannon. You don't always need a size 5 cannon. Some people may disagree, but I don't think you do. The Storm is a little bit quicker, only requires 1 person. It kind of sits in a really good spot between something very quick like a Cyclone and something a little bit more punchy like the Nova.
I'm excited the progress that the team has made on this. It's been a real beauty to work on, and it should be a lot of fun for the players too.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the RSI Lynx is the new benchmark for traveling planetside in comfort and style. That the Tumbril Storm says you can blow stuff up and look slick as all heck while doing it. And that it's already in production for an intended release in the less than distant future. Now join us tomorrow for our Invictus All Vehicles Roundtable over on Star Citizen Live. And don't forget to check out everything else that's available in Alpha 319 in between visiting the Invictus showrooms. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for exploring the process of game development with us, and we'll see you all here next week. It's your call.
You can make it.
Don't! I believe in you.
I'll step out.
Roll a survival check.
14.
You successfully exit the elevator. Just kidding. You're dead.